Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to finally share part one of my Japan stationery haul. I just got back from an amazing 2-week trip to Japan where our whole trip was planned around visiting some of my favorite stationery shops and brands throughout 4 different cities. We started our trip in Tokyo, then we headed to Kurashiki, followed by Osaka, and ended in Kyoto. For part one of this haul, I'll be sharing washi tapes and stickers, paper goods, postal items, and items from the Superior Labor. In part two, I'll be sharing some other fun purchases, including what I bought from the Travelers Company, so be sure to stay tuned for that. So until then, let's get started. Okay, as far as washis, I put everything in this little bucket here. I got way more than I thought I would, but let me kind of give you a run through of all the main ones I purchased. So the main shops I purchased washis from were MT Labs. You might be familiar. They're called, their name is Masking Tape, so MT for Masking Tape Labs. They actually have locations in Tokyo, Osaka, and there are 2 stores in Kurashiki that I want to say are like sister stores to MT Lab. Their names, I'll have them up on the screen, but they had all MT Lab washi tapes. So most of the tapes I did purchase were restocks or refills of ones I'm almost out of or ones that I wanted to get. And because of the exchange rate at the time I traveled, it was fairly inexpensive to purchase them. So I kind of saved purchasing them earlier for the trip. So you'll see here, I got a lot of solids in color palettes that I use across my mail and journaling. I also purchased a lot of like grid or lined or like rulered washi tape designs. I also love using that in my journaling. So you'll see that kind of similar theme there. And then kind of the other category, for lack of better words, that I focused on, or theme or design when purchasing washis, were to purchase ones that were like in collaboration with artists. So in addition to these from MT Lab, let's see, I got a few from Ichiro. It looks like MT and Ichiro, MT and Leah Mapatite. Hopefully I'm not butchering those names. There were a couple other collaborations, which I will on the screen share some names. I just went towards designs that I knew I would definitely use in my spreads. So a lot of that are like in the same color tone. I tend to lean into a lot of blues. I love like floral or plant related designs, so I definitely purchased a handful of those. This grouping here, I'm missing one, I can't find it. It's probably at the bottom of this bin. But this from Leah, again, Leah Mapatite, I hope I'm saying that right, was a set of 4 almost like seasonal themed designs. Summer, one for each season. Here we go, here's the 4th one. Summer, winter, sorry, I'm saying that all out of order. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. So I thought it would be fun to use, again, on my spreads. And these were some additional fun designs I reached to get. Got that pretty bird one. Some other ones from MT Lab include this Postal one, which I love. It's just something like cancellation stamps. And it's like rather thick compared to traditional washi. I thought that'd be fun in mail. And then I also purchased this like invoice or this like ephemera theme one where there's invoices, tickets. So if you're in Japan, I highly recommend, you know, if you're in one of those cities, checking out the MT Lab stores. It's a great like one-stop shop for all things washi. Outside of MT Lab, I did find some great washi finds at some smaller shops that weren't, that were like not under a large brand like MT. These are either local designers or just fun design prints, again, that I knew I would use. So another shop that like deserves a mention is a shop in Kyoto. They also have a location in Tokyo called Sublo 36. Let's see, I think this train washi, as well as this Postal guy washi, was purchased from there. It's adorable. They had tons of great washis, stationery, like related items, paper goods, stickers. So I actually purchased a fair amount from that shop. You'll see more of that. In addition to just like some of those smaller shops, you can find washis at museums, Washi is coming, it originated from Japan, I believe. And so it is pretty popular across like the country as far as it being sold and available at places that maybe you wouldn't expect. So I got these two washis, for example, at a museum. Coffee shops had washis. I think I got this. It's really random. It's a fish one. This was at a restaurant, and this is a brand that I've actually purchased here in the States. I believe it's probably like on Osaka or Nico Neko has this exact washi, I believe. So this was a restock of one I already had, but just keep an eye out if you're interested or looking for washis outside of those larger stores. You can find some good finds in some of the smaller ones. Speaking to that shop, Sublo 36 that I mentioned, that I got this little postal guy from, an honorable mention, it kind of sits between stickers and washis, are these amazing, what would you call them, like sticker labels? I think that's what they're listed. I've had my eye on these on some stores local to this, like, here in the US, but they're relatively expensive. And I knew since I was going to Japan that I wanted to wait and purchase them when I was there. And I didn't end up finding these until the last couple of days that we were in Japan at that store in Kyoto. What I love about them is obviously they're really small. You can cut them out, you can share. I've already used a couple of them, but I think they're such adorable designs in the smallest. I mean, it's as small, as thick as my thumb. This one's actually relatively large compared to the others, but they're just like fun little additions that you can add to, again, mail, journals. And yeah, I picked these up at that shop, and I'm so excited that I got them because, again, I've had my eye on them. This lovely train one. I also purchased, they had different, they had way more than obviously what you see here. I had to limit myself. Whoops, that fell into my candle. This one is just a plain like design one. I saw samples of this at that shop where people, where they showed an example of like someone adding a rubber stamp to this and like layering. So I like using, sometimes it's hard to kind of stamp on washi paper or washi tape. So I like that the material is paper. It's a sticker, and then you can kind of like layer and add additional designs to it on your own. So I'm so happy I purchased these. These I know aren't exactly washis, but it was a good transition after talking about that shop, Sublo 36, and I feel like they sit right in between the washis and sticker category. So with that, I'll transition into the stickers that I purchased on the trip. The stickers came from various different shops. The main ones I would say I purchased most of the stickers from were Itoya, Loft, and Tokyo Hands. So as far as stickers go, I have quite a collection of stickers. So similar to the washi tapes, the ones I purchased were either ones I've had my eye on previously, or ones I want to refill on, or ones that I kind of in my head already thought like had a place to use them. So I'll start with these Kita tape stickers. They are by the brand, I believe, King Jim, and there are various designs that they offer. I already have a handful of their designs, and I love these because they're such great travel like companions. They fold up, like this is a kind of a folder. They fold up just like this. They tuck in place in this little flap, and then each sticker is kind of on its own sheet. And they, I think, traditionally started with these like washi style stickers, and then have since expanded to different types, just kind of like smaller icons and these stamp types. So I picked up some new designs that I hadn't seen before, so I'm excited to have those and use those. Another thing that I kind of keep in mind, again, like I said, is where I'm going to use this. And a lot of the stickers I've been recently using are for my weekly journal spreads. And so which you can kind of see here, I like gravitated towards a small like icon stickers so I can use them in those spreads. So here's a couple smaller icon style stickers that I picked up. As I mentioned earlier, most of these are from like Itoya, Loft, or Tokyo Hands. If you're unfamiliar with those brands, Loft and Tokyo Hands, they're like a department style store. With most of them have multiple levels. They sell like household goods, different, like sometimes they'll sell clothes, but they usually have a section at a minimum, if not a full floor dedicated to stationery. Itoya, on the other hand, is a similar setup, but they specialize in stationery. So if you, let's say, have a trip planned to Japan and you have only time for one like stationery shop to visit, I'd recommend looking at one of those three because they'll cover everything. They'll have stickers, they'll have washies, they'll have stamps and pens. They kind of have that perfect mix so that it's a one-stop shop for you if you aren't able to visit multiple places on your trip. But most of these I did find or purchase at one of those type of stores. Let's see, in addition to some of those like icon stickers, I also like purchasing like label style stickers. So label for mail or labels, just like random labels to decorate my journals in. These on the yellow backing are from that shop, Sublo 36, as I mentioned earlier. I love these ones from them, fresh letter seals, it's adorable. And then they had some Christmas ones that I picked up. And these two, I think one of these are also from Sublo 36. The other is from, I don't recall to be honest, but they're just like blank little labels that I tend to use frequently in my like creative journaling or creative mail. Other stickers I noticed I was like picking up were stickers designed by local artists. So you'll see here some stickers designed by Midori Asano, Aiko Fukawa. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. Another one from Midori Asano. These, I don't know. These are from Midori, the brand. But I just love that like illustration look. So I picked up a handful of those. Some of these I did pick up in Itoya. Others, I actually visited a store, which you'll see later on in, I believe, the next section, in Kyoto called Hiraeth. Hopefully I'm saying that right, but they carry all CozyCa products, and CozyCa, they produce products from local designers, including the ones that you see here. So we'll go over that in a bit. But this is kind of the other general theme that I gravitate to, is more like illustration looking stickers, which I'm excited to use. And then the last in my sticker lineup are these lovely sticker flakes. I tend to like stay away from sticker flakes because I end up not having a great way to store them. But these were just too cute to pass up. Sticker flakes are great also for traveling. You know, if you are going somewhere you want to journal, you can just take one of each instead of a whole sheet, and they travel really well. So while I normally don't have a lot in my collection because they tend to kind of get everywhere, when I find ones I really love, I tend to pick it up, and these were too cute to resist. I'm also noticing I'm leaning a lot towards like sea animals. It could be because I also visited the Osaka the Osaka Aquarium while we were in Japan, and I absolutely loved it. But I also live up in Seattle, and I'm just craving for summer, like being out in the water. And so I noticed that I was grabbing more like sea animals than I normally would. So that was the roundup of my stickers. Perfect transition over to paper goods. That'll be the next category we go over. As far as paper goods go, the last three shops that I previously mentioned, so Loft, Tokyo Hands, and Itoya are great places to find paper goods. And so I got a handful of my paper goods there, but majority actually came from that store I mentioned earlier called Hiraeth in Kyoto, which again carries the CozyCa products. So let's group them, I guess, by like letter pads and notepads first. So as far as letter pads go, here I got a few again from some local designers, so Midori Asano, and this kind of had some pretty designs. I was excited to use that for spring, or I purchased it with spring in mind, I should say. This is another one from Midori Asano, also from that CozyCa store. And I'll be sure to have an overlay on screen so you can kind of keep track of the shops, because I know I kind of hop around there. I'm also going to have a list in the description of the shops that I visited for you to save for future reference. Another one from CozyCa, I got the letter pad, which is adorable with the bear, and the matching envelopes. This is another letter pad. This wasn't from CozyCa, but something I noticed outside again of the stores I mentioned or this specific store, I noticed a lot of the bookstores had like a small stationery section. Within that section, they sold a lot of these type of like thicker, larger letter pads or writing sheets or decorative paper, I believe is the description on it. So this was a fun one. I believe this illustrator collaborated with Hobonichi. I think this is one of the covers you might be familiar with. So I picked that up. That was a fun, like, bright letter sheet set to have in my collection. Outside of those like loose leaf papers, there was a lot of these letter sets that came with matching envelopes. So I believe all three as well are CozyCa products picked up at that same store. Their CozyCa is carried in a lot of US, I say a lot, a handful of US shops. So think of Osaka, Neko, they will have CozyCa products, but it was really cool to see all CozyCa within one store. The designs are truly just so beautiful, so could not resist. So those were the main like letter pads. Actually, I had some smaller ones that I purchased that I just, like notepads, I guess, or more notepads. These, I believe I purchased in Itoya. Again, Itoya, Tokyu Hands, Loft. Just honestly, any department store that has a stationery section, you'll find similar kind of styled. I don't know the official term. I know there is one. But this style of like notepad, they're all kind of made of this paper. I don't know if you can tell. There's like certain like fiber that runs through it. I'm not too well versed on the papers that this uses, but I already have a couple of these in my collection. I just love this little hole puncher, this little goat with the letters. This, of course, Mount Fuji, and then the goat again with the Postal. I thought that was great and fun to add to my collection. Some other things that I noticed I gravitated to were these notepads, all I believe from CozyCa, except for this one, which was purchased at an art store. But what there are, they're like little sheets, paper, sometimes with multiple designs. This one only has two. This one I love because of the stamps and just reminded me of spring. These are from CozyCa. And again, Japanese local designers, some of which I already purchased items from. But outside of like using them for letters or in your mail, they would be great journal like additions. Like you could do little tip-ins with like your notes if you went to a coffee shop that day. So I love this one. I love Midori Asano, I believe. Yep. I failed to show. I purchased a matching washi tape. Midori Asano, same thing, cups. It's so cute. Once I start using this, obviously I'll be sure to share on my spreads with you all because I'm excited to kind of see how these look as they live on paper. Another fun notepad. This one was very like minimal, but still reminded me of spring. So I'll pick that one up. Another one, you can get the theme, kind of pick up on the theme I was going for. I was ready for spring. It's actually a really nice sunny day. That's why I'm filming, but we're still in the thick of the gloom here in Seattle. So I'm going to live through these paper items until spring actually comes. This one too is another beautiful, fun spring one. And then this one, I could not resist this little bear and the post box. And I think it's like kind of letter themed. There's like letters right there with that bird holding the envelope. The bear's writing a letter on the leaf. This was just, again, I could not resist. A lot of great finds. So outside of those pads, I also did purchase just some other like random paper goods that would fall in this category, but maybe aren't all from the same shop. Let's see. Oh, forgot from that section. Also from CozyCa, just some fun envelopes. I truly am so attracted and like obsessed with the illustrations of the designers that they work with or they partner with. And then these that kind of additional paper goods I purchased. This is another like paper set. I just love the little panda bears. This definitely was from like a Loft or a Tokyo Hands. These two I got from Sublo 36. They are like, I love the look of ephemera, like old receipts and stuff. So that's pretty much what they are. And I figured they would be great in journal spreads. And then this one is like an honorable mention. It's not necessarily like a writing pad, but It is a stamp book to collect stamps that are, I mean, any type of stamps. Japan, if you're unfamiliar, I also can't think of the term. There are these stamps that they have at a lot of like landmarks or trains or subways, and so this book was created to collect collect the stamps and then like notate kind of a little memo about like the date, the time, the place. So I did that differently for this trip. I kind of just like was loosely collecting stamps on sticker sheets, which I'll probably share in a future video. But I thought this would be fun for our next trip to Japan, where I can kind of collect everything and house it in this one little notebook. The last I'll share in the paper goods sections, which will, actually it won't be the last, sorry. The last of kind of the CozyCa stuff, which will transition into the next section under paper goods, which is postcards, are these two little postcard booklets. So both from CozyCa, same designers as previously mentioned, but they are a booklet of postcards, which again are so lovely. The designs are like too cute, could not resist. So I purchased this, thought that would be great for Easter coming up, and then this one again for spring. So I would say from a paper good like notepad standpoint, while Itoya, Loft, and Tokyo Hands definitely had their fair share, my favorite probably was visiting the CozyCa store in Kyoto. That's where I got most of these like lovely little pads. But transitioning into postcards, which I found an abundance of in Japan, I stocked up on quite a few postcards. What I noticed was postcards were everywhere. I mean, which is probably pretty similar maybe in other places, but any information center, any landmark, tourist center, museum, you know, obviously the stationery stores, just art stores, they were just everywhere. And I love postcards, obviously, to write with, to share with friends, or sometimes to use them in journals. So I'll just flip through some postcards, and then they're all from stores I've already previously mentioned. If not, they're from museums, and they had such a great collection. They were easy to pick up because they were so accessible. These fun ones again are from CozyCa, these like two illustrated ones, and they were relatively inexpensive. So from my experience with buying postcards here in the States, you know, depending on the design or you know, who's making them reasonably, you know, sometimes they could be $5-6, but they were almost all under $1, you know, when you take in consideration the conversion. So I definitely stocked up on ones that I know I would use. I go through postcards pretty frequently. These are such fun designs. So I was so excited to be able to stock up on these while there. Just flipping through some fun ones. I love these plate designs. These are from the aquarium. This is from like the Bungo Box store. These are from Hiraeth. I picked a handful up from the Superior Labor, which I'll go into more detail once we get to that section. More from a museum. I'll just pull them out. Same as the ones we saw earlier. And then these postcards I'm actually probably the most excited about, which will transition kind of into the next category. Even though it falls under paper goods, I think it was deserving of its own section, is the postal office. So if you're not familiar kind of with me over on Instagram, I go by the postal type over there because I have an obsession with all things mail. And so I made it a priority to try to visit as many post offices as possible in Japan. You know, anytime we were in a new city, I would try to visit at least their central post office, and then visit any of the smaller ones around just to see what they had available from a postcard and stamp standpoint. And what I found is they had quite the selection of stationery, more than we would have here. I don't think I've ever really seen postcards at like a USPS location, or at least not many if they did have any, but there were a ton of options in some of the larger post offices in Japan. So I'll start with these cards that are called Gatochi cards. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. What they are die-cut cards. Gatochi, I guess, means local in Japanese, and they are like these die-cut cards that are regional to different locations within Japan, and then the designs on them represent something about that region or that location. The unfortunate part is these are no longer in production. So I think as of July of last year, they decided to stop producing any new ones. So what's available and printed is out there, and there might still be some available, and I'm happy I was able to pick up two. But I'll do an overlay of like just some other cards that were local or like were available at other locations. But once they sell out, they don't plan to reproduce them anymore. But they're these adorable cards. This one I got in Himeji. While I was there, the guy at the post office actually gave me this one as like an extra. I think he just had it on hand. But this is of Himeji Castle. So when we were in Himeji, I saw these and I had to pick up a couple. And then this of ramen from Osaka, which is adorable. I love ramen, so I'm so happy I found these. I was actually, like, I had my eye on these, or not on these, but I was hoping to find them, let's put it that way. But because I knew they were discontinued, I just didn't think they would be available at shops, but I was pleasantly surprised when I saw them at 2. So I got those from the post office. They also had these. These aren't, oh, whoops. They had, let me pull this one. Another die cut card. I don't believe it is region specific. I think they're seasonal, I want to say, where they have this, their little post box with a design depending on the season. So I purchased this in Japan this trip, but here's an example of one I already had on hand. I think one of my fun Instagram friends gifted this to me. There's another version of a spring. This maybe was last year's, but this was the current spring one. That was available at the post office, so I picked up that. They also had great selection of postcards that were, of course, postal related. So I picked up that cute guy riding his little post motorcycle. I'm not sure what you would call that. I got this little animals in person waiting to drop their letter off. This one also was a post office find, as well as this one. They also had some other, like, local to whatever location post office you're visiting themed cards, which, let me pull here. I have a whole whole folder dedicated just to post office. So the one I visited, I visited, like I said, a handful of them, but the Osaka post office was the one I noticed, at least from the ones I visited, that had the most. So, oh, that was actually from Tokyo. So these are from Tokyo. I believe that one's Osaka. See, such adorable designs. Osaka post office. And then these were in the Tokyo post office. You know, some designs for Tokyo Station. They also had some other die cuts that weren't like region specific. So they had some train die cuts. This came with 2, but I sent one off back to me. So hopefully I get it soon. Undamaged, hopefully. And then they had like non-paper goods, other like stationery items that I picked up. So I picked up this little plastic folder, and then this little like notebook folder that have these window plastic envelope or like pages where you can insert postcards. So I thought that would come in handy. In addition to picking up postcards and those additional stationery items, I'm a stamp collector. I wanted some stamps from Japan just to collect, but also to use when I was sending some postcards. So I did pick up a handful of stamps, which are adorable. At the time of filming this video, I believe it's 100 yen, or it could be 110 maybe yen to send a postcard from Japan to the US. So I got varying denominations. I honestly just picked whatever was cute, and then if I needed to add multiple stamps in one, which I did to almost all of them, just because they were too cute, I did, as far as postcards. So I picked up these. I love the food ones that they have, and that they're cut out in circles. They have this like postal themed one, this children's storybook or picture book, another food one, and then some train ones. So if you're into mail or just want to look for other stationery options, especially if you do like postcards, I highly recommend visiting the post offices in Japan. And just like as an honorable mention, the staff was truly so kind. at each one that I visited, I think they could like read my excitement in the room, because at each one they kind of gave me extra things. So these I think you can just ask for, but they handed me this, and then I ended up getting a few sheets, you know, after the 2 weeks of the trip. They're the airmail stickers, so I throw those on, I have those in postcards. This adorable glass scene that has a stamp of the postal box. They were one of the post offices, I believe it was the Tokyo one, was adding my postcards into like a larger glassine that had this, and I pointed it and said it was cute in Japanese, and she loved, like, she was excited that I was excited, so she just handed me a few extra sheets, which was so kind of her. And then at the Himeji, hopefully I'm saying that right, post office, again, I'm sure they can read my excitement when I'm like getting all the stamps. The lovely agent who was helping me gave me this little cute tote, this Japan Post. I think this is their mascot. So she gave me this and put all my stuff in it when I left. She like had to ask me if I wanted it, and of course I wasn't going to say no. So I'm so excited to have this, and it's just like a fun memory that I'll have to remember Japan from. I will go ahead and transition over to the Superior Labor, which I purchased things that fall into the categories I already covered, but I think that brand in itself was deserving of its own category. If you're not familiar with TSL or the Superior Labor, they're a lifestyle brand that specializes in like handcraft, leather, and canvas goods. If you are familiar with them within the stationery world, they're known for like their canvas totes, their like pouches that people use for pens or to put like notebooks in, but probably their most popular, like, I wouldn't say most popular, but what they're also really known for is their partnership with Traveler's Notebooks and their customization options that they offer with customizing your own Traveler notebook. So I will go over that at the kind of end of this section. They're based in Kurashiki, which is a town that's about an hour drive from Okayama, Japan, or like a 5-ish hour train ride from Tokyo. We spent the weekend there. To be honest, the main reason we went to Kurashiki was to visit the Superior Labor, as well as to go to Naoshima Island to visit a museum there that had an exclusive Traveler's Notebook. I'll get into more of the Traveler stuff in the second part of this video, but I will share with you what I purchased at the Superior Labor. So to start, let's actually start with the smaller stuff. So I purchased this washi, which is adorable. It just has a lot of their logos, like this little cute heart design that is like newer. Oh, is it picking up? There we go. I love handmade. I purchased some pins that I can add to my pouches. And then, I'm excited for this one, I purchased one of their mugs. I have the Traveler's Coffee Table Trip mug in brown, and it's a similar style. It reminds me of like a diner. But I thought that was really cute. I don't know if I'm going to use it as a coffee cup or if it'll just sit in my desk like as a pen holder, but definitely had to get it. I was worried it was going to break in travel, but I carried it on with me and it had no problems. And then outside of the covers, another like big buy that I was excited to get at the Superior Labor was this canvas pouch, the large canvas pouch in black. It barely fits. Let me move up the camera. Okay, I pulled you back a little bit here so you can kind of get a better view of it. I don't have much of a large filming space, and I'm trying to stay within the sun. As you can see, the shadows are like catching up to me here, so I hope you don't mind that. But as I mentioned, the outside is canvas with some leather accents. The interior is fabric, this beautiful like navy green, I would say, or olive green fabric with some leather accents here. I thought this would just be a great like travel pouch for me, and it doesn't necessarily mean like if I'm traveling on a vacation, but if I like want to journal at a cafe, I think it would be great to house what I need for like a journaling session in here. I have a friend who has this and she uses it and loves it and has shown me how much it fits, so I'm excited to have it in my collection. I'm pretty sure this fits a standard TN nicely on top of other things you want to throw in there, so this was a buy that was like top of my list. And I'm so happy I was able to purchase it in person. They also offer it in gray, but I opted for the black because I thought it would be more forgiving, knowing that it would probably be like added into a tote bag and might hit some things. So I'm really excited that I was able to purchase this. And if I didn't already say this, I believe Baumkuchen offers this. It might be sold out right now, but I will link to any that I see online in the description. So that was kind of one of the main purchases at the Superior Labor. I also purchased these two, I thought they were pins, and I think they offer them in pins, but they're like charms. And they just released this. I got it in green and brown, and these will be actually nice to add to my traveler notebooks. And then for the main event, maybe what you're all here waiting for, at least that's what I was excited for. So the minute we arrived to Kurashiki, we dropped off our bags to the hotel and we rushed over to the Superior Labor so I can get my custom order in. If you're not familiar, the Superior Labor offers customization to traveler notebooks that they do in shop. There's different customization options, adding pockets, adding little plates, adding patches. And I did some research prior to going and watched a handful of YouTube videos to understand the process. And, you know, depending on the time of year you're going and how many orders they have in place, the process could take a couple days. It could take overnight. For me, I lucked out. I arrived at the store at, I want to say like 3 p.m. on a Saturday. And I think there was one more person there, but no one was on the second floor, which is where they do the customization, or kind of where you tell them. And so I was able to get these two orders in and customize, and they had them ready for me the following day by 5 p.m. And because we were staying 2 nights, you know, I was able to pick it up in person. I believe they do offer shipping, not out of Japan, but like, let's say you're going to another city next. I believe they can ship to your hotel, but don't quote me on that. Definitely do some research and check when you're there. Anyway, I opted to get a passport size and a standard. And for the passport, this one probably is not gonna lie, it's my favorite. Nothing too crazy, but I picked a camel passport traveler's notebook, and the customizations, I picked 3 customizations. I added, of course, these 2 patches, which I love. I have patches on another traveler notebook that I did myself, but when I did it, I just pasted it in, or like glued it in. I love that they stitched this, and you could see the stitching on the back here. But I got those 2 in, and then I added this little, I don't even know what you call it, like, I'm not gonna think of the word, but you get what I'm saying. It's like a little pen, not a pendant. Anyway, I'll put the word right here whenever it comes to me when I'm editing this, but I got that so that I can kind of create a little latch here instead of the traditional, you know, over the notebook. I might use this as my wallet. At least that was the thought in mind when I like got it ordered, but I'm really loving it. I'm worried, I'm scared to use it, but I'm going to be brave and I'm going to use it because that's why I got it. So I'm excited that I have that. And then I also, they have, you know, exclusive inserts, and I just love how the blue matches with that. So I got the insert as well for my passport. So that's how that looks like. The other one I purchased was a standard size traveler's notebook. I got this one in brown, and I did a handful of customizations. You could really go crazy with customizations. Everything is priced a la carte. So you pay for the price of the cover, which, by the way, you can't bring in covers. You have to purchase the cover that they have in stock there. So like if you want black and they don't have the black, then you're just kind of left with what they have, which I wasn't picky, to be honest. I was ready to get whatever they had in stock, but that's just something to keep in mind. I'm happy to do a separate video to kind of talk a little bit more about my experience if you want. So just let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. But this is the standard size that I purchased. So I got it in brown. I think I wanted black. I don't know. I was kind of going back and forth. My heart wasn't set. I don't have many brown covers outside of the road trip one that they just released. So brown I thought was a good one to add to my collection. I got this patch added to it because I love green. This, I kind of realized after the fact, is literally the same design, but that's okay. I love how it looks. And then I had a stamp, added a white stamp to it. So that's as far as like the outside customizations. And then in the inside, I did add this leather pocket with an additional stamp. So as mentioned, each little element is just like an a la carte piece that you then add, and then you pay for kind of all of it together based on the different additions you had. But you can get really custom with this. When you get there, there's like a little booklet that they have examples of. So I kind of flipped through that, but I ended up just kind of doing a mix of different examples I saw in store. I'm really, really excited to use this, and I'm glad I was able to secure one. And then similar to the passport, I also purchased a standard insert as well. I think that wraps up my TSL portion, I guess, of the haul. I'm sure we're way, you know, this is probably going to be close to an hour, so hopefully you're enjoyed it this far and you stuck around. Thank you if you have. As mentioned in my next video, I'm going to go over some additional stuff I purchased. So this will be a 2-part haul. The second one, if you love traveler's notebooks, pens, inks, glass pens in particular, other stationery tools, and then just a recap of my trip in more detail and just some like top tips I would recommend. Definitely stay tuned for part 2. I'll be sure to link it below once that launches. Until then, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about anything I went over, or you want to share your thoughts on what I purchased, is there anything that you love or you want to see more of, please let me know. Until next time, take care. We'll chat soon.